Hello, 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 and hello, everybody. Okay, we back, me and Miss Debbie.
We back. Jay, how you doing?
All right, doing all right.
All right now, back for another interesting topic on Jay Talks today.
Yes, well, we've been talking about, I guess we've been talking about some couple things, but now we're going to get to the family. To the fam. All right. All right, family. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. All right. Distinguishing the roles between grandparents and the parent. Distinguishing the roles between grandparents and the parent. All right.
Very interesting.
You know, I had asked on social media, sent out, you know, the synopsis, and asking, you know, if there were grandparents or or even great grands. Sometimes it's great grandparents.
Absolutely.
Who sometimes they might find themselves that with the grandchild or great grandchild, if that be the case, looking towards them as being the parent more so than the ones who actually gave birth to them.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
You know, you know, we hear that quite often.
It's very widespread nowadays.
Yeah. So
that the grandparents are fulfilling the roles of the parent. So we're going to discuss that in detail in different circumstances in which the grandparents are actually acting as the parent.
The parent.
Yeah, that's something. Grandparents as in the role of the parent.
Right.
And what happens that sets that in motion to where the grandparent is actually the parent of the grandchild.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you think about grandparent, you know, older.
Right.
Okay. In a lot of cases, much older. And they've raised their children. And are now on the second generation? Would that be like the second generation, third generation?
Yeah, second generation.
So think about that. That's kind of,
Yeah, it would be something. Now, you know, let's say you had a lady who had kids, and she maximized having her kids, say at least at the latest 30 years old. She's raised them all up. The last one, you know, graduated and now 25 years old. You know, and even if she had the last one at 30 years old, if it's 25, she's now 55 now. All right. Almost to be a senior. You know. Some folk count themselves as seniors at 50, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, they may not get the credit at the stores, but they count themselves as, you know, they got this over the hill thing, you know, at 50, right?
Yes.
You know, we got to come back to a show. We did that before. You know, is it over at 50? We're gonna go back to that.
We got to do that.
But anyway, but you know, now the parent is now at 55, and we're talking more so the female. The female. We're not excluding the males, but we're talking more so the female because we also did a show about, you know, the single parent.
Yes, we did.
You know, I think it was "Mommy, You're My Daddy" too.
Yes.
Back in Mother's Day.
Yes.
In 2016. And because the majority of the single parent homes are women.
Are women.
Yes. Women. There are a few men who are single parents, but the majority of single parent homes are women.
Yes.
So that's why I'm not leaving the men out, but I'm just focusing because of that essence, the women. So now you have the woman at around 55. If she had her last one at 20, her last child would have came to be 25 at her age, 55. And she has spent all her time in raising the last up to the last child, no matter how many before that one.
Yes.
Doing what she needs to do to nurture, to raise her child.
Yes.
Her child. Okay. If there's a man in the house, again, I'm not leaving you out. I'm just saying because of certain factors in life, I'm really focusing on the woman. Okay. To raise her child up, and now this 25-year-old, I'm just using the youngest one. If there are more, there may not be any more. She just may have had a child, only one child at 30.
Yes.
Who knows? But I'm looking at statistics when it's showing the average age of that women are bearing children, and it's showing that the average latest age being at around 30 years old. We have heard the stories of people 35, 45, even
and
one woman what was it, almost near 60.
Yes.
Almost 60 got pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh God.
Yes. They probably had to keep electrodes in her heart to keep. Let me stop. Anyway, but I'm just saying, statistically speaking, the average latest age is 30. Okay, 30. For childbearing.
Yes.
And so, so now this 25-year-old, which is, and the age is getting younger now. The average, earliest age, I'm not saying there aren't any earlier than the average statistical age for childbearing, because there has been occasion, and yes, it was from molestation, where there was a 10-year-old that got pregnant, and that from molestation. But I'm just saying that this is not the average.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, folks, hear me. When I say average statistical age or age span for the youngest in bearing is estimated to be at 21. Okay. We know that there are several childbirths, even at 18, but the average statistical is 21. All right.
Those now finders. Now.
Even now, even
really?
even though there are a lot of them at 18.
Okay. I'm saying sooner than that.
Right. Okay. There's even a lot of them even sooner than that.
Yes.
But the highest age rating of the youngest age is 21, because that would be those either just coming out of high school, just attending colleges. The research and statistics have shown that many of the females that get pregnant, the majority, this is the high, when you look at the graphs, is at 21, and when they did the survey, they came to find out that it was a consumption of females who were either in college, just graduated, out of high school, they're moving into ventures on their own. In other words, just moving out of the house on their own. And so and all these females seem to be on ventures on their own, where they've gotten away from, mom and dad and all those that may have, in other words, now I could be what I want to be. I can do what I want to do, without any restrictions and all that. So that seemed to not saying they're not any younger, but it just seemed to increase at that age. Okay. All right. So, at 21, so here you have this woman who has a child at 25. He or she made it past the 21 the statistical age, and like we said, we know that where the span can hit, but bears a child at 25. Now, when I say bear a child, I'm definitely not excluding the men. I get so tired when I hear hear folks say, "You got me pregnant." Why you have to go get pregnant, and and all that. It took two. The correct phrase is "we got pregnant." I mean, yes, there are roles. One carries it, one impregnates it. Okay, so but unfortunately, God made the woman to have to carry it. That's just a fact. Can't escape it.
That's right.
Ain't no need of complaining about it. That's just the way it is. It ain't gonna change till Christ come back. And who said that ain't gonna change then?
That's just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Yes.
All right. Just the way it is. All right, y'all can take that all the way back to Adam and Eve.
Absolutely.
All right, that was the curse that Eve brought on board. Y'all get mad at Eve.
That's another show. That's another show, Jay. Yes.
All right, so so we got pregnant, whether it's male or female, because it takes two. All right, so and now because the two who decided they would get in the bed together, well, they may not have got in the bed. Who knows? How they did that thing.
Yes.
But they did.
Nonetheless,
they did the thing. They did whatever it took.
Okay. A child is here.
All right. So and. I bet we'll say it correct. We always be saying they slept together. Really? Well, how they get pregnant? They went to sleep, right? I'm like, where did we get that phrase from? If you had to slept with me, I mean. Okay, Jay.
For
real?
Yeah. Yes.
I want to see that magic. Y'all two just went to sleep.
Just went to sleep.
All right.
You know what they saying, Jay. Okay, come on. So 25 is the age
that just use an example, okay? Yes. And now has a child.
Yes.
Okay. That of a choice that the two of them decided and took the risk. All right. Knowing the possibility.
Yes.
Okay. And now after having the child, and we find this in many occurring situations, especially nowadays, more and more so, where now the parents, and majority of them are young, within that 21 or younger age, up to 30 or a little bit older, but we say up to 30. Because we see them even in that age.
Yes.
Because they have their mama who is the father who is the grandparent or even great grandparents. They began to put they create their schedules, and they look for means for the grand to come in and take over some responsibilities where actually it's really their responsibility.
Absolutely.
Because many times folk want to sow a lot of stuff but not want to reap a lot of stuff. So they want everybody else to reap what they should be reaping and make the sacrifice to deal with what they maybe should be having to deal with. And a lot of times grandparents and grandparents, you know, I hear them say this, now you laid down in that bed and you did this and all that, but then again, but you see them with the kids the majority of the time.
Gone. They just, I mean, you know, because if you look at the relationship, Jay, between a grandparent and a grandchild.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you know, I've heard it said, you know, over the years that, you know, even when the parent didn't care too much for the child, for their child, when the grandbaby comes, it's something different. You know, so it's like you looking at your newborn baby for the first time and you falling completely in love. Okay, so you look at the grandparents' role as looking at the grandchild, and the grandchild is looking at you with this beautiful little face, you know, going, Grandma, can I have some cake for breakfast? And the grandmother going, yes, baby, you can have cake and ice cream, and you know, I mean, because it's just that, you know, that thing. And so when you look at that, Jay, and that's why, you know, we look at the fact, and this is just one of the reasons. I mean, we're gonna talk about several reasons. One of the reasons why, you know, why the grandparents take on that role, because they have that love. I mean, that truly unconditional, I done fell in love with this child kind of attitude. And then the parents, and then you got some parents that know that and will play on that.
They sure will
play on it. You know, so we talking about, I mean, and it's so rapid today, Jay. I mean, but we're gonna get into, you know, other reasons why grandparents consume the role as parents. But that's one of the reasons. You know, grandparents have that, you know, that's my grandbaby. You know, you will give your grandbaby, you know, do everything for your grandbaby before you do for your, you know, for your child. I mean, but if you raise them, you got that every right to do that. But how far will you go with it?
I tell you, you know, it's like my grandchild right now.
Yes.
You know, and my mama will sit there and hold him and hold him and hold him. And not that I would want to be held like that, but you know, it'd be like, Mama, you ain't hold me like that. You ain't what's this, Mama? You ain't hold me like that.
Right.
She'd be like, you know, grandson, you want some ice cream?
Why,
Mama, you told me I couldn't eat that much ice cream. What's up?
Exactly. Right. So, I mean, you know, and I think to a certain extent, you know, that's like the grandparent creed, you know, to be able to do that, you know, but you can't go overboard with it. I mean, it's a line to everything. You know, but in that case, you know, of the grandparents, it used to be like if y'all remember this motel commercial, Motel 6, the guy that was doing the commentary for that commercial, Tom Bodette, he had he had a commentary. It was like him and Mama decided to get the grandkids for the weekend. So what we did was gave them cookies, cakes, and ice cream and all that, and then send them home to their parents to calm them down. You know, that's what grandparents do. You know. If that's you know, they want to give them, you know, cake and ice cream all weekend, that's what they do. You know, but it comes a point, you know, when you talking about being that sole caregiver for the child, then it's something totally different. Right. But we see a lot of that today, Jay. You know, even, you know, as of today, grandparents are the sole what's the caregiver for the child. Now, what are some of the reasons that grandparents play that role as the sole caregiver for the child nowadays? And then, I mean, the truth of the matter is that it shouldn't be. But we know that there are certain reasons why the grandparents consume that role, that responsibility.
Right. I mean, there are some reasons that are necessary and permissible, but there are also some reasons that actually are not permissible and unnecessary, and actually is actually doing more harm to to the gluing of familyhood. You know, it may seem like it's nice, it may seem like it's sweet, and it seems like it's such a nice thing to do for the grandkid and all that. But then what happens is the inside family, the immediate inside family bond is actually disseminated because there is not that relationship between the kid or the children and their parents in an order that was actually necessary for the kids to not only watch it, to grow up, they may grow up to be able to be responsible parents to their own kids because what they're used to. Yes. And you know, we tend to see this. And it's becoming more and more evident that it's the parents are not assuming full responsibility in the actions of raising their kids more so than the grandparents and the great grandparents are. But we know that there are some valid reasons. Yeah, there are some valid. But let's talk about the invalid reasons. The invalid reasons. Okay, let's talk about the invalid reasons. One of the components is, you know, like you talked about, you laid it all out for us at the beginning of the show about, you know, the young woman, you know, getting impregnated at 20, 25 years old, how, you know, whatever age of supposedly legal limit, decide that, well, you know, even though I've gotten pregnant and even though I've had this baby, I'm not ready to be a mother. Right. Okay. I'm not ready. So what does she do? She gives the baby to the grandparents. Well, I always call them grandma. Oh, right. Okay. Just bring on. Yeah. Or Mama, will you watch it this weekend for me? Exactly. I got some things to do. Yeah. You know. Yes. You know. I'm not ready to be a mother. Okay. So, and if we go back, you know, for me, I have a cousin. Well, she's passed on now. We were the same, you know, same age. Hung out at some of the same spots, did it for years. She eventually had 6 girls, where I had the one child. And a lot of it was due to the fact that her mother assumed the responsibility as the parent. Okay. When we would go out on the weekend, it was always evident. We always knew that her mother was going to keep her children. Whether it was 1, because it started out as 1, it ended up being 6. Right. Whereas for me, my mother, her thing was, that's your responsibility. You had him, so you're going to be responsible for him. Right. Okay. So in that case, of course, some more things, you know, came along with that, and I thank her for that. I only had the 1. Whereas my cousin eventually had 5 other girls. And the thing of it was like, a lot of times I was like, how did you have time to get pregnant? We was always together. I mean, you know, you know how, you know. But you know, when you said you slept and she said she slept, her sleeping wasn't sleeping. All right. When you said you slept in the bed with your significant, and she said she slept in the bed with it was not the same sleep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was not the same. Like I said in the earlier part of the show. Okay, right. All right. But you know, a lot of, you know, for me, it was like my mother was like, you know, if you can't take him with you to the club, then guess what? You're not going. And so she was the type of mother. When she said what she said, she meant it. And her thing was, you're not going if you can't take him with you, and you're not going to call around to find somebody to keep him while you go to the club. Right. So what did that mean for me? I had to be responsible for my child. And my mother did not care. I mean, she cared for him, but she did not assume her grandparent role until my son was about 6 years old. Because then her thing was this: he can fix his own peanut butter and jelly. He can get his own Kool-Aid if he wanted it.
he was pretty much sufficient, pretty much at that age. And because of that, that taught me. Now, it might, I mean, you know, I'm talking about my story. That taught me to be responsible for, you know, for my. And she was the grandparent not because she had to be. Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But because she wanted to be. And when she wanted to, what she did was she drew boundaries between my relationship with my son and her relationship with him. Even though she was the grandparent, she drew a line.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And I understand that, and I take it that puts you in a position to have to take responsibility.
Absolutely.
And as far as your cousin, I take it that her mom just kept taking the grandbaby whenever, and she just kept on going out and doing whatever, and and you know, and I know, I know this family, and I have watched them for a good while. Whereas, you know, the father and mothers, they're young. They're in the mid, right at 30. But they were like in their mid 20s, around 25, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
No relation to the example I was given earlier, but they're in their around 25, mid 20s, and they gave birth to 3 kids back to back.
Okay.
But I watched them even when they had their first kid, and their mother was in her 50s. You know, right at 50 when the first child, right at 50, I think like 48, 49, something like that. But what happened was that the mother was very ill, had a lot of sicknesses, you know, bad spinal situation. So, you know, she had several pains. And you know, so when you think about it, that meant that she had a little bit of a difficult time being able to keep up with a little kid, because you know, kids gonna be kids. They gonna meddle. They gonna, you know. And I'll tell you, these particular kids were very intuitive and
busy.
Very busy. Very busy. Very curious. Very intuitive and very busy. Okay. And I watched. And I listened, you know, and here it is. Now, and I know this. I don't know if this may touch somebody or whatsoever, but this is real talk, and that's what we do is real talk. Okay. And this goes back. This will go towards even just couple relationships, all to other types of. When you say you love somebody, right? There should be an area of consideration, of caring and respect. Should be. Not saying always is.
Right.
But it should be, if you're really sincere when you say you love this person, no matter who it is, your mate, your sister, your mom, your dad, your co-worker, whatever. Okay, should be. Okay, we always say you always see the signs. Okay. All right, because if you say that there should be some sign, no, there must be some sign. I'm gonna really say it. All right, there
must be some
signs. All right, that actually prove that. Okay?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Because we live in a day now in the times now that people just accept anything. People say, you know, I love you, and they just say it, and they'll accept it, but won't even pay attention to see if the signs are matching up with what they're saying. So, all right. Now back to you know, if and I would see the son make remarks like, you know, I'll fight anybody over my mama. I'll do this over my mama. But yet, when paying attention, they would put the burden on their mom, okay, on his mom, to keep the kids, even up to all three of the kids.
Okay.
While she's suffering with all this pain, and she never turns them down, okay, because she loves her grandkids.
Yes.
And they just be sitting at home chilling. I mean, sitting at home. They just don't want to be bothered with their own kids, that they gave birth to, but don't put it on his mom, who's suffering with pain, because they know she'll take them, just so that they could get rid of the kids they chose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To have.
Yeah.
Not just once, but 3 times.
3 times, right. Yeah.
And you know, and that's what, you know, and we find that quite often in today's times, that the parents seemingly of today tend to do that to the grandparents. And I'm just saying, if you're really saying that you love your mom, you know, you would rather her suffer with the pain, through her pain, and try to keep up with your kid that you don't even want to be bothered with.
Yeah. Well, you know, Jay, that you know goes back to, you know, then you have to look at the grandparent. You know, where is it's evident that there's no line drawn. Okay, when you talk about drawing the line, for me, my mother's her take on it was, I will get him when I want to, not when you want me to. And that was on any given day, any given day. If, you know, I decided, you know, one weekend I wanted to go out, and I call her and I say, you know, Mom, is it, you know, okay, I bring, you know, the you know, my son over, can I bring him over, you know, you keep him nice? She might say yeah. But then, you know, a couple weekends later, I feel like I want to go out again, and I'll call her and say, Mom, can I bring the baby over? She'll say, no, I don't feel like it. I know, not this weekend. No.
I got my own plans.
Right.
My plan. I got my own life.
But you know what? But in her doing that, I understood that. It was like, you know, you rolling the dice. You take a chance. I might get it. I might not. But it was okay, because that's how she drew that line. She drew that boundary of letting me know, I'm the grandparent. He's not my responsibility. He's your responsibility. Okay, so she let me know that. So in this day and age, when you talk about, and we see this a lot more now, Jay, where the grandparents are, you know, the parents just dropping the kids off, you know, going on about their life, living their life however they do it, and the grandparents are taking care of the children. So now you made a good point as to say, you know, if the grandparent is sickly, you know, it's something like that. The grandparent is sickly, they're not able physically to care for the children. You may, because children at 2, 3, 5, 7, you know, they busy, they getting into everything, they want to run, they want to go outside, they want to play. I mean, that's what children do. That's what they do. But if you're not physically able to do it, how can you spend that quality time and still give them the nourishment and the caring and the, you know, everything that they need as a grandparent? There's no way possible you can do it. So now we talked about the invalid reasons why grandparents are assuming the role as a parent, and the statement I made is because the mother decides, well, I'm not ready to be a mother. Okay, so then you have the grandparent that's sick and assuming the responsibility of pretty much the parent role, because the parents don't want to, you know, be bothered with their own children. Okay, but then you have those situations where the grandparent must step in.
Must step in. Yes. For the betterment.
For the betterment. Yes.
Of the child, and that's how we're wording it. Betterment.
Yes.
You know, and when here's some cases in that particular scenario that would be where unfortunately the parent is caught up on drugs. Incarceration is another one. You know, rather than let the state come in and interfere. And that's going to be another show because I really have some disapprovals on how the state handles their intermingling with family affairs. I mean, yes, it's necessary to have a board or a department that looks out for the welfare of the child, but then they've gone too far on many cases. In many cases where I guess they think they're God in a way, but and have overreacted and overdone and made some decisions totally in disrespect to the family essence. To take away the kids and all that. In these days, than when it was originally established. So I won't get on that, but I just said that. But there are some certain cases that are necessary. Or maybe here's another one where the parent has become in some situation of health deterioration.
Yes.
Where it's kind of unbearable to be able to set forth the energy
to care for.
Sometimes a parent can get in a very bad financial rut. Now in a way that's a kind of iffy situation. That's kind of iffy. I guess that because when you go back in the old days, I mean in the old days, man, I tell you one of a good movie that really is so inspiring, and we're talking about the financial binary. It's The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh yeah, Will Smith. And his son.
Now,
love that. Love that movie.
No matter what,
absolutely,
he didn't leave his son.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't have a place to stay.
That's right.
He took care of his son.
Absolutely.
That was his responsibility. Even though the wife didn't see it that way, he took care of his son.
Yes. And Jay, and even if we go, and we're going to come back to that in a minute because I thought that was a great concept that you brought up. But even if we go back, to, the older, the younger years, when our grandparents, great-grandparents, who had, they didn't have 1 or 2 children. They had 13, 17, 13, 17 kids. How many kids? 19 kids, in one room, down south, a one-room shack. But they made it work.
Yeah.
They never got rid of not one of them. And they had 13 kids.
They had the Mexican theology. The Mexicans, I'm not picking them, but that's really true.
Right.
I mean, the Mexicans, they have, they can have 10, they could be the mom and dad and 10 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment.
They make it work.
They make it work.
They make it work.
They make it work.
I mean, so if you think about it, Jay, honestly, unless there is a very valid reason for the grandparents to be the sole parent of the child, there is no reason. There's no excuse is what I'm saying. You drew out a couple of statements. If the parent is unable health-wise, if the parent is on drugs, if the parent is, in jail, locked up, and I think I'm sure you probably was going to get to it, Jay, but the final, in which it should be, unless the parent is deceased.
Right.
The parent has died, and the sole responsibility does fall on a grandparent. In that case, we can see.
Right.
So when you look at it at that standpoint, rather than having the child, like you brought up, taken away by state custody or anything like that, and the family at that point steps in and become responsible for the children. Now, drugs I mean, we got to look at how did that begin. You know, how is it that, be it the mother, because since we're talking about the mother, is in a position to be strung out on drugs, to have an addiction to where she can't care for her children. And we can look at different aspects, you know, of that, but that'll probably take us the rest of the show. That'll probably have to be another show too. But in that case, and rather than have the children to suffer the effects of not having a parent there, then yes, the grandmother, your grandparents assume responsibility as total caregiver for the children. But yeah, you know, this thing is, I mean, but nowadays, Jay, it's like common fact that the grandparents are raising the children. And it's so widespread now. Actually, I'm from Detroit myself, and so there has been some cases where the grandparents are the sole responsibility of the child. And about a month or so ago, either a month and a half or so ago, a child was killed in the home where the grandparent was raising the child because the child found the gun that was in the house.
Right.
Okay. And the prosecutor for the state of Michigan is now going after the grandparent. I'm talking about serious jail time for this child being murdered in the home.
Right.
Okay. I mean, being killed in the home. Now, this grandparent, I mean, we're not talking about a young, because it's a difference between the young grandparent and, this is an older lady, like 70, 80 years old.
Right. For
whatever reason, she's assuming responsibility of the children. But you got to think, and I started thinking about that, and that just really, touched me, Jay, because I'm thinking this woman's 70, 80 years old. There's a reason, what reason it is, I don't know, that she's, caring for the children. And no doubt, it wasn't anything that, of course, she would have wanted to happen. But you think about how many children is she caring for? At 70 and 80 years old, you like to think that you can watch a child and be there, hands on, eyes on, all the time. But a lot of times that's not the case. But this baby has ended up dying in the home, and the prosecutor is really going after the parent. I'm talking about jail time, like being locked up for a long length of time because of this. And so you got to think about what the kind of grief that this grandparent is actually going through. First of all, her grandchild has died in her home. Okay, and so now she's looking at serious jail time. Like really? I mean, isn't her grief, enough now? I'm not saying that feeling heartless about the situation. I sort of understand it to a great point, but I'm sure that if she didn't have to have the responsibility to care for the child or feel that she had to raise the child up, this wouldn't have happened. So it was something that was probably dropped in her lap, and maybe she did, or maybe she did not want the responsibility of being solely caring for the child. So when you look at it like that, grandparents, being parents, it's we see it in this day. I mean, it's so widespread. But then again, the parenting, the children, you have children having children. So you said earlier, Jay, that 25, if you get to 25, actually nowadays you're doing really good. I was 18, when I had my son. But there are cases where the parents are younger and younger, or some younger than 25, some around the age of 20, 25. But the fact of the matter is that, you have to be at a certain point in order to even be able to have that kind of responsibility for a child, or have a parent. I'm not saying my mother was to me she was the best mother, but I thank her for what she taught me. Or have a parent that's just saying, look, you had it, you had them, you're going to be responsible for them, and not me.
Yeah, it's something, but and what I see it more so in the unnecessary, in the unnecessary area, um, is that we have to remember kids do more mocking of their parents than anybody else, because what they see in their parents is most likely what they're going to take within themselves psychologically as the rule of thumb for life.
Okay.
Okay. When we see a young boy being raised up around a father who abuses women, mainly his mom, statistics show that he has a high chance, this young boy, of growing up into being a woman abuser also. Okay. When we see kids grow up around parents who see their kids, see their kids that see their parents for years being drug abusers or taking part in the use of paraphernalia, of whatever kind it is, drugs, when they see this over a period of time, it's a high percentage that kid, no matter how many times the parents be like, I don't want to ever see you mess with this, with my stuff, or touch this stuff,
yes.
But they see you, so they're going to take that as the rule of thumb that this is okay. All right, but this is the psychological process. They may not ever touch it around while you're there.
Right.
That's not to say they might sneak and do it at school around the homeboys or homegirls or whatever. But they know not to touch because they don't want to get no butt whooping around you. Okay. All right. Now, but you the one teaching them this. Okay. All right. Now I'm just going on with some certain cases. This is what statistics show. When we see kids that are coming up under the environment of their parents who use strong, regular, active profanity. Strong, regular, active profanity.
Putting words together you didn't even think would go together.
That's right. This child got a better English profanity language.
Yeah. Yeah, and these the babies now.
These the babies.
Yeah.
They even had on YouTube. And I not even on YouTube. I ain't even gonna go to YouTube. I was standing by two young girls who were in their young 20s, like 21, 20, maybe even 19, but two young girls, and they both had babies. And one of the babies was like 3 years old. Little girl. Cute little girl. But the mama was sitting there telling the other one, and they thought it was cute. They thought this was real cute. She was like, I had to get on my baby the other day because she sat there and she's like, I didn't even like the woman and that she said this to, and she's like, I couldn't help but fall out laughing when my baby told her the SHIT word, said the SHIT word, and well, I'll say this one, and well, we know what that spells, but they said "damn you" to a lady that the mama didn't like, so she thought that was cute. She
thought it was cute
because it didn't come out of her mouth; it came out of her little girl's mouth.
Yeah.
But then she had to get on her later on about not saying it. Okay. But you the famous, top-notch teacher that taught her that because you curse and use profanity like it's liquid water. Now, like I said,
these are babies though.
Yeah, these babies. This was a 3-year-old. using profanity.
Oh yeah.
That ain't the only case.
Yeah,
that is not the only case.
It's not.
All right. I mean, they even showed it on YouTube. There's some stuff on YouTube, and Facebook. People be putting everything on Facebook, but folks, we know this is real talk. Okay?
It is.
And like I said, the children. I'm trying to set this so everybody can see this pattern. As I said, the children who are coming up and they see the patterns of whatever it is, they pull it into their lives as this is the rule of thumb of what life is about.
Right.
So when they see the parent being a lazy parent, not taking on the roles and assuming and accepting the roles of responsibility in a parent, they come up seeing that and they take into themselves that this is the way of life to not be a responsible parent, so that when they become a parent, they too don't become responsible. And we now have created a generation. If you really look at the statistics, there are a whole lot more irresponsible parents out there than it was many years ago, because the generation had expanding, watching these irresponsible parents, teaching them to be an irresponsible parent. So and unless that chain breaks, but see, here's what happens: the grandparents, we play a role in that.
Absolutely. Okay.
Because if we step in unnecessary, unnecessary, assuming
that responsibility,
we take away from that parent having the opportunity to be held accountable, to roll with that responsibility, so that the child can see the responsibility being issued out of the parent. But we don't see that, because we're too busy, saying, come on, grandbaby, you want some ice cream? You want some ice cream? What my grandbaby was.
But I mean, so what it sounds like you're saying, Jay, is that you can still love them and you can still nourish them, encourage them. You can still spoil them rotten, but from afar. You don't have to assume that role as the parent. If you are allowing the parent to be responsible for their own child, and so now, unless there is a valid reason for that. So, in other words, there is no. I mean, unless there's a serious valid reason, the parent should be solely responsible for the child. Because you decided that now, since you've gotten pregnant and you've had this baby, you don't want to be responsible. But then that goes back to the parent. Are you willing to draw that line with your child and say, okay, well, I'm sorry, you choose not to be responsible, and don't want that responsibility as the mother to raise a child, but then you have those that would decide they just want to drop the baby off, drop it off somewhere, so what do you do in a case like that? I mean, because all cases are not that. You don't want to be responsible because you still want to hang out and do everything you want to do. Well, that it's a little bit too late for that now. So I'm just thankful that I came along, in a time that my mother, for me, showed me what it was. I saw her growing up, the years, she was raising me up. Saw her, what she did by her being a single parent. She let me know that it can be done, and she was responsible for me seeing that it was done for my son. It was no ifs, ands, buts about it. It wasn't no other way, or you have a choice or something like that. She didn't give me a choice. She let me know that this is what I was going to do. And because I love her, and because I knew she was telling me for the best, and because I knew from her raising me that this was going to be the best for my son, that was the choice I made because yes, he was my and is my sole responsibility.
Right.
You know.
Right. So, folk, yeah, we've been talking about distinguishing the roles between grandparents and parents. And I know we kind of presented it more toward women. Now the men, grandfathers, great grandfathers, we're not we're not taking that away from you. But here's what I have also noticed statistically about the men, the male side, the grandfather and great grandfathers.
Yes.
They are most likely not going to step into the role of really spoiling and pull it. They are more so to remind the parent
absolutely
that it's their responsibility more so than the woman.
Yes.
And
true.
It's not, and I don't see that as that the grandfather or great grandfather has is not interested in the grandchild, does not love the grandchild. But there's some things when we say love, we think that when that somebody's not loving us when they're not giving us what we want. All right?
Yeah.
When we want. And there's a thing that's called tough love that sometimes in love, because it's better for you. If you love somebody, you looking out for their betterment.
Yeah.
All right? For their betterment. More so than their fulfillment. All right? You're looking out for their betterment because you're looking in the future where they're heading to rather than where they are at the moment. Because if you could see where whatever happens to them, where it could possibly motivate them to move to, you're always giving them and folks, you can do what you want to do. But I don't think it's that many homes today with bank accounts or wealth that stay. That I say stay, not may go there and then drop way down, and that stay on the average of at least 200,000 in the bank untouched. Okay.
Right.
Okay. You hear what I'm saying? All right. I don't think it's that many homes.
Okay.
Or families.
Right.
And when I say that, I'm looking at many families are struggling or just getting by, or what they call well-to-do. But that's not. But well-to-do is not really that dynamically great. Okay, where your kids, at an infant age, you got to remember your kids are continually growing in size and height.
Right.
At an infant age, you buying them these shoes for $100.
Right.
Because it's Jordan or whatever, and you're gonna put $100 pair of shoes
on a 6-month-old.
On a 6-month-old. That ain't gonna wear. It's gonna be out on probably in 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, look, sooner than that.
Than that, yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you the bad
news. And even when they get to where they can speak, you know what I'm saying? All right, it really starts right there because you can see the sign that you're gonna be kind to give them everything they want by just that right there.
Yeah.
All right, and then they start to get ready to. Well, I want this, I want that, I want that, and you just keep giving it to them.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me just say this, Jay, because it just reminded me. Now, you just made the point about buying Jordans for a 6-month-old.
Mm.
And the baby is 6 months old.
Right.
Can't walk.
Right.
Okay. Can't even walk,
Can't
but he
even
wears
scratch your shoe.
right.
Can't even scratch it.
Really? I mean, do what you want. That I'm,
Yeah, you
call
do what you
in.
want,
I don't have no business making that comment. But I'm just saying, think about if that's what you want to do, you got every right. But to say this, Jay, in the comment that you made earlier about the grandparents the grandfather don't have that kind of tie.
Right.
Not meaning that he don't love the grandkids,
Right.
but he don't have that kind of tie.
Right.
I had a neighbor back home, and this is a proven fact of what you just said. A neighbor back home, whereas the wife always wanted the grandkids over to the house.
Right.
Okay. Now they had a bunch of grandkids for that reason that I was talking about earlier. Mama, I want to go out this weekend. She stay gone the whole weekend and then come back pregnant. Okay. So having more and more. So the wife always wanted the grandkids over to the house. So, and because that's what she wanted, that's what she did. But then she would get mad at her husband. Hear me now. Get mad at the husband because now he been and saying, look, I don't want to be bothered with all of the grandkids this weekend. Okay, but I know you going to let them come over here, so you going to take care of them. He would tell her that, voices to her. So the grandkids would come over, and now they all over, and they running her rampant, running her crazy. And so these her words to him.
What you asked for, right?
These are her. You just gonna sit there and let them do that? Help me. And he would tell her, you wanted them over.
Right.
I told you in the beginning that I did not want to be bothered with the grandkids this weekend.
Right.
And because you wanted them over here, they were going to be your responsibility. And she would get mad. Right. Now, I'm not telling you what I heard. I mean, I would hear this. He been and said that, and she would get, too. I mean, when I tell you fighting mad, started the biggest argument.
I have seen and experienced several cases of the same. And folks, I mean, that's just, even though this might be a little bit off the subject, but it is this with relation to the subject. And I'm glad you said that. This is with relationship period. You know what, folks? It is, and I know some folk gonna be really affected by this word, but it has an existence, and I say it boldly. I say this word boldly. We don't like to be called ignorant. All right. It does. It is a real word with a real definition, with a truth in its definition. All right. We don't like to be called ignorant. But however, all right, I'm gonna make this my ignorant joke. All right.
Okay.
If you the kind,
what kind are you?
If you the kind that takes on any kind of project or any kind of responsibility, okay, and remember, you have a choice to make that.
Yes.
Okay. And you take it on. And you take it on with the expectancy that somebody else is going to participate in the choice you solely make. All right? You have an expectancy that someone else has to, must, and gotta take part in a choice something you made to take on, no matter what it is. Whether we talking about kids, we talk about a job, or we talking about a car payment, or whatever it is. All right, and they don't.
Right.
You just might be a little ignorant. you just might be. Might be.
Okay, Jay.
Okay. Just might be.
With the expectancy.
Yeah. Because when you make a choice, you need to be prepared to assume the responsibility of your choice.
Yeah.
And that's with anything. Even when we're talking about the parents, they made a choice to not sleep together,
right?
But do whatever they did.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
All right, with the risk of getting pregnant. When you made the choice, all right, and you had the expectancy that your grandparent, your mom and your dad, which is the grandparents and the great grand, the expectancy is the word that they are to come in and must help you and gotta help you with the kids you chose to take the risk and have.
Yes.
You just might be a little ignorant.
But no, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Right.
That's gonna be another show, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. Okay.
I said with the expectancy.
With the expectancy. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, if they take it on, you know, you need to be happy because
right.
All right. Because if they don't, your expectancy is gonna be shattered.
Absolutely.
I said with the expectancy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Your expectancy is gonna be shattered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with the expectancy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right, because those things are not promised.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So
That's
be
true.
prepared to take on whatever your choices bring to the table.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess we done with this one. All right. Let's get on out of
later,
here.
Grandpa.
We clocking out. Yeah, we clocking out on this one. All right. Right.
Bye
bye. Bye.